stream, just kick some ballistics, as they used to say. That's 90s hip terminology because, the 90s was the golden era of hip hop. That's when you heard the best hip hop music ever created. But I just wanted to take the time out to just basically talk about this particular video and then talk some other boxing subjects about Crawford. What's his next move that he possibly could face Virgil Ortiz, Virgil Ortiz, not Teeth, if Oscar's willing. But we've been down this road before, just like we've been down this road before with Jaron Boots Ennis. They had their chance, they didn't seize it, and now it's back to square one. At the end of the day, I laugh at the fact that a lot of these fake boxing channels are pressuring Terrence Crawford to fight Jaron Boots Ennis. But like I said, where was all this pressure for Errol Spence to fight him? These were the same people that said Bud didn't fight anybody. He has a terrible resume. But then when Bud was trying to fight all these people, they were saying he needed to sign with the PBC, doing all this promotional banging and all this kind of stuff. But I'll get to Bud in a minute. Fundora has a verbal agreement to rematch Tim Tszyu. Now, they made it look like that they had contractual agreement for a rematch. But you hearing that Fundora is about to play games, which we kind of knew that was going to happen because we all know how these sanctioning bodies get down. We all know that they're going to talk him out of not fighting Terrence Crawford. So now he's going to pursue a rematch with Tim Tszyu. Listen, I'm okay with him fighting Tim Tszyu in a rematch. I'm perfectly okay with that. Well, some people are like, well, wait a minute. If you don't have an actual rematch clause, you basically have the NFL type of agreement, because the NFL contract is basically about as worth as much as writing it out on a piece of toilet paper, according to Mark Sheriff, because that's about what it's worth, because they can restructure it any given time. If you refuse to restructure your contract, then guess what? You're just off the team regardless. So I just find that funny. Now, as far as Canelo Alvarez and David Benavidez go, in all likelihood, this is probably one of the very few last videos, streams I'm going to do, in particular talking about that subject matter, because it appears that Canelo doesn't ever plan on fighting David Benavidez. He said, can't nobody make him fight David Benavidez. And he's right. He's right. We can't make him fight David Benavidez. But when it's all said and done, and we evaluating Canelo's career, yes, Canelo will be in the Boxing Hall of Fame. But somebody is going to have the guts to just say what people are afraid to say when Canelo is basically out of the boxing realm, when he's basically not, probably going to events on a regular basis, if not attending as a fighter, spectator, or just coming to fights as just a spectator when he retires. But it doesn't look good. It's not a good look. Everybody keeps saying he's not afraid of David Benavidez. Well, what's the damn problem, man? What's the problem, man? Could you give us a real reason why you refuse to fight David Benavidez? Because you haven't really given us a legit answer on why you don't want to fight David Benavidez. Now, the money is out there, realistic money, not the $200 million that you're seeking, because I did the math. I had my man Justin McRae do the math and explain to y'all why that's not feasible and why it was laughable that Canelo even basically said, give me that type of money and we'll have a fight. It's just not feasible. It's just laughable. He doesn't want to fight David Benavidez. That's just not in the card for Canelo, and that's unfortunate for all the fans. We all lose out. He's talking about, well, depending on what happens with Jaime Munguia, which I think he'll beat Jaime Munguia unless something weird happens. I'm talking about Jaime Munguia is going to have to fight the fight of his life. Yes, he stopped John Ryder, a guy that Canelo couldn't stop. But they're not going to let Canelo lose one way or another. It could be a competitive fight. It could be a competitive, controversial fight in which we get through watching the fight and basically having this discussion that Jaime Munguia may have done enough to win the fight. But Jaime Munguia, the problem is with Jaime Munguia, he is not defensively sound. Canelo will be able to counter him and hit him. He's the ideal Canelo opponent. Now, he's tough. He's going to keep coming. You look at David Benavidez style versus Canelo's. Then you look at Jaime Munguia style versus Canelo. Of course, David Benavidez has the more difficult style. Because David Benavidez, as far as offense goes, he has no weakness as far as offense goes. And he's solid on defense for the most part. He can fight on the inside. He can fight on the outside. He can fight from distance. He can change angles. He can push, you know what I'm saying? He can apply pressure. Everybody keep talking about, well, you know, when he fought Caleb Plant, and Caleb Plant is my guy. But keep in mind, he fought Caleb Plant in a ring that was the size of the arena that they fought in. That was a gigantic metamorphosis ring that they fought in. Had it been a smaller ring, and David Benavidez wouldn't have had so much, you know what I'm saying, space in the ring to be having to try to chase Caleb Plant down, he probably would have stopped Caleb Plant. But you got to give David Benavidez credit. That fight showed his ring IQ. I mean, you can make an argument that he lost like the first 4 rounds. But then, you know, basically he rallied. He just basically like took, you know what I'm saying, won like 7-8 rounds straight to secure the fight. So that showed me right there. People keep talking about, well, you know, Canelo, he knocked Caleb Plant out. Okay, fine. Hagler went the distance with Roberto Duran. Thomas Hearns planted him face forward. Sugar Ray Leonard lost to Roberto Duran and beat him twice in a rematch. Sugar Ray Leonard beat Hagler in a very controversial fight. Me, myself, I thought Hagler won that fight, but, you know, nevertheless. So we can't use that. You know, Floyd, he knocked Ricky Hatton out in 8 or 9 rounds. Manny Pacquiao knocked him out in 2 rounds. Floyd Mayweather dominated Marquez. Manny Pacquiao had 4 life and death fights with Marquez, and then the 4th time he fought him, he got slapped. So, you know, you can't really use those type of scenarios really to break down fights, because that doesn't work all the time. Like, I think one of the most intriguing fights that's coming up in June is going to be Dimitri Bivol versus Arthur Beterbiev. A lot of people, shockingly, are going with Bivol to win that fight. Me, myself, I haven't really picked a winner, but as I said before, I'm leaning towards Beterbiev. I could be wrong, but most of the time that I've, you know, in my mind, behind the scenes, told people who I think was going to win a fight. I don't like to do predictions on my channel and stuff, but most of the time when I predicted fights, I've been right. Out of every 10 fights where I predict the outcome, at least 8 of them, I'm right. I was wrong about Teofimo Lopez and Josh Taylor. Got that one wrong. And I can't think of the last fight that I got wrong. Might have been some other fight, but most of the time I'm efficient with outcomes of fights. Just like I always knew Terrence Crawford was going to demolish Errol Spence if they ever fought, and he'll demolish him again if they fight. But people just gonna have to face the fact Canelo, he doesn't want to fight David Benavidez. It's sad for boxing, and it's sad for Canelo, because Canelo looking real weak right now. You know, you heard Mikey Garcia say, I just don't think the fight gonna happen. You know, and Devin Haney said that he doesn't think that Canelo is scared of David Benavidez, and that's and that is Devin Haney's opinion. He's entitled to his opinion. one thing about me, everybody's entitled to opinion. I don't get mad at people voice their opinion. If my opinion is different from yours, then fine. So be it. It's all good. But I think we should just move on from this. We need to stop asking Canelo, because Canelo has told people pretty much what his plan is. Now, in all likelihood, he'll fight in September. In September, he'll fight either Jermall Charlo or he'll fight Edgar Berlanga. As far as him fighting Dimitri Bivol, you probably wouldn't see that fight till sometime next year, because Dimitri Bivol and Artur Beterbiev have a rematch clause, so they have to run it back. So if Artur Beterbiev loses, he gets a rematch. If Dimitri Bivol loses, he gets a rematch. Now, I don't know what is the time frame when they have to put together a rematch, but Canelo versus Dimitri Bivol 2 won't be happening anytime in 2024. And to be honest with you, I think it'll be the same results. I just think that Dimitri Bivol have a style that's just very difficult for Canelo. Canelo struggles against dudes that stand right in front of him. And he struggles against dudes that are stronger than him. You can clearly see that Bivol was clearly stronger than Canelo. And he just outboxed circles around Canelo. And I think if they fight again, I think Canelo gets beat up even worse. I think Dimitri Bivol could possibly stop Canelo if they fight a second time. Now, depending on what happens, what Canelo's going to do regarding a rematch, is he going to try to make Dimitri Bivol come down to 168, even though Dimitri Bivol said he would come down to 168, and Canelo basically pretty much said, I'm good. Now, Canelo could be just, he could be capping. He might have just told that particular outlet that's his plan. Me, myself, I think Canelo, from this point on, Canelo will be 33, 34. Later on this year, I think Canelo is just going to try to ride the wave. I think he's just going to look for easier fights. I think he's at the point where he's not going to take tough fights, where David Benavidez is 26, so he's just scratching the surface. Now, keep in mind, David Benavidez is moving up to light heavyweight. Now, they've been saying that David Benavidez is all but guaranteed the winner out of Beterbiev and Bivol. And I guess that would mean after they have the second fight, because they have a rematch clause. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to that fight, because I think it's going to be a lot of indication on what happens with David Benavidez and how he would possibly look in a fight versus Artur Beterbiev. I know a lot of people are saying, well, Artur Beterbiev is long in the tooth. He's 39 years old. You wonder how much longer can he go? Well, Artur Beterbiev takes care of himself like Terence Crawford. I mean, he takes care of himself. He doesn't smoke. He doesn't drink. He's a practicing Muslim. So I don't think he's what you call a old 39. But then again, I could be wrong. We could see something different happen in June. He could get old overnight. I don't see that happening. But I'm looking forward to that fight. But as far as David Benavidez and Canelo goes, Canelo just made it clear he just don't want a fight to do. Like, how much longer and how many times we got to ask Canelo about a guy that he is just obviously not interested in fighting? He sees something in David Benavidez that he doesn't like, so obviously he's like, I'm good. Now, getting to this scenario with Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, I noticed he ain't told Bud, let's have a rematch at 154. which that would be foolish to him, because if he was to take a rematch with Terrence Crawford, that would be the last time you see Errol Spence in the ring. A lot of people don't want to accept the fact that Errol Spence took a battering in July. They have made Errol Spence out to Superman, and he's not Superman. Errol Spence need at least, when I say he need at least a soft touch, because I see he haven't learned his lesson about going into direct fights. He went into a direct fight with Terrence Crawford, and you seen what happened. And I just don't think it's a guarantee that he would get past Fundora. So we'll just have to see. But anyway, I'm out.